With all the many cartridges out there on the market, it's very difficult to choose just one as being America's cartridge. But myself, Mark, and Ryan Muckenherd, Mr. Cartridge himself, all got together on this freestyle podcast to discuss what we actually feel is worthy of that designation. So check this out, see what we thought, and at the end, let us know what you think in the comments below as well. Thanks for watching, everybody.
What are those for? If you had something going, Jim, I totally cut it off. But you brought up the Crayola crayons that we've got in the podcast studio. I'm looking at them right now. Ryan just pointed them out. Why do we have those?
No, you just started this podcast. There's a 96 pack of crayons here, and they just randomly appeared. Did you bring those, Ryan?
I didn't.
So there are. I actually Googled this when I saw the 96 pack of crayons. There are 120 colors of Crayola crayons outside of the custom colors, and I do wonder why Crayola would make a 96 pack. A lot of their packs are weird numbers, and those poor kids out there that are OCD wondering why they couldn't have just added 4 more crayons into that box.
Oh man,
to make it even 100.
Yeah.
Huh.
It even, from a marketing perspective, I feel like the 100 would be like, oh my God, 100. Like 96, you're like, hey, there's a box of crayons.
Yeah. You ever get a 96% on a test? You think, this is awesome, I got a 96. But then you are left wondering, what the hell was that one question I missed?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
No. Well, I got a few ways. And actually, Jim, looking at the whole scenario, you guys can't see it, but actually it appears to me that my 2 little girls have been playing here because we've got the crayons and then a bunch of thumbtacks and a screwdriver, which to me looks exactly like something I'd come upon them playing with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and usually
mostly probably the screwdriver
let's
and the
see how close we can get them to our eyes. So, with that said, today's podcast is a freestyle. We discussed the fact that it could be 10 minutes, but actually it's going to be way longer than 10 minutes because we want to figure out here, right now, the answer will be arrived upon. What is America's cartridge? Each one of us has come prepared with a cartridge that is supposedly, in our minds, America's cartridge, and our argument for why it is America's cartridge. So, where should we start?
I don't know.
You want to start? You seem really excited about this.
Well,
You're really worried about people stealing yours, and you've got notes that are covered up right now. I'm surprised you don't have a trapper keeper. Speaking of like crayons and thumbtacks and kids and stuff, I'm surprised you don't have a trapper keeper that is
just got
stood
it
up,
segmented out.
Stood up between me and you so that I don't cheat off yours.
I didn't think
Did you
that
ever used
far
to do that?
ahead,
You used
Jim.
to make like a fort. You'd get 2 trapper keepers like this, then you'd put a Mead notebook or a 5-star if you were real fancy over the top of them so that you were in your own little like.
Oh yeah,
Look at you! You're real fancy with your
have a
5-star.
five-star.
Did you color in those stars, or they come silver?
No, they came silver.
Okay, a lot of kids used to get them where it was white, and they'd color them in. That meant that they customized. They were artsy.
Ooh, interesting. No, Jim, why would I set up this giant contraption on my desk that would literally inhibit me from looking to the right or left to get the proper answers for the test?
What? That's a good point. So let's hear yours. I want to hear yours.
In fact, glad I wasn't sitting by you.
Yeah, I was.
All right, here's the deal. Here's what I'm going to say. There's a new 30-06 in town, and it ain't the 30-06. And I love the 30-06.
So your America's cartridge is actually something newer.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's hear it.
So, and I say this, I almost feel like my answer is going to be like vanilla in a way, but I've got so much information backing it up that I think it's just the truth. It's the truth as we live today, Jim, in today's society.
I'm worried that I know what you're going to say.
You know exactly what I'm going to say. Should I go through the reasons before I name it?
Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Yeah.
Okay.
Can you also, on my little knob, can you turn me down one click?
Oh, sorry.
No
I'm probably talking too loud because I'm excited.
That's all right. No, thank you. Perfect.
All right. I'm gonna go through the attributes here, and then you guys can guess what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I already know.
And it won't even be a guess, but I'm gonna just wait to guess. All right. This cartridge has enough gas for our most popular big game species. We're talking deer, elk, black bears. I'd say primarily, right?
Okay.
And I'd say, and I'll caveat that in the scenarios they will most likely be encountered. So we're gonna 80-20 this, I think, right?
Sure.
It's a light recoiling cartridge, gentlemen. Moderately recoiling cartridge.
Okay. Very different than what I originally thought.
It's perfect for youth and recoil sensitive folks. It's a cartridge the whole family can use, so you can buy the same ammo for everybody. Dad's got the same, he's pushing the same pills as mom, as the kids. We're talking about a family cartridge here. It's going to be a rifle, or the rifle itself can be put into packages that are great for small-framed people, too. So it's going to be easy to carry, easy to hold, easier to shoot. And I think even if you're an experienced shooter, this cartridge might make you a better shooter. Okay?
So my original thought is completely out the window.
Yep.
That's awesome.
I do know what it is.
You do know what it is.
Yeah.
This cartridge is at home on a mountain rifle as it is on a chassis-based match gun.
Yep.
It's great for long range and short range. Factory ammo options abound with a variety of bullets. You want to shoot all copper? Go ahead. You want to shoot a bullet designed for long range precision? You can do that too. Readily accessible reloading components and minimal powder needed to load this cartridge. You're already saving money, Jim, on all the reloading you love to do.
Okay.
He brought his A game today.
You did.
Did
He
you?
did.
You drank regular coffee this morning, not the unleaded stuff.
Oh, dude, I'm always on the regular.
Oh man, he had a monster.
And
Yeah.
this is going to be.
I was just gonna say, yeah, this is more the monster talking.
I feel like I've had enough coffee that I'm probably at monster level right now. Adopted by the military for sniper work. And I've got a little note here from an article that I pulled off the interweb. It says top special operations snipers will replace their 7.62 millimeter sniper rifles with the, I almost said it, which doubles their hit probability at 1,000 meters, increases their effective range by nearly half, reduces wind drift by a third, and has less recoil. And Jim and Ryan, by shooting this cartridge, you essentially become a sniper by default. That's not true, but that's
Okay.
actually not true.
All
Because
right.
those guys have a special set of skills. Gentlemen, yeah, I mean, everybody knows now. You know.
The 22-250.
Yes.
Mark, you did it. You went mainstream.
Dude, it's mainstream. It's basically like saying
You gotta
vanilla
say it
ice cream.
for anybody who's not still yet sure what you're talking about.
Guys, this is the 6.5 Creedmoor. And when I was going through my selection process here, I actually didn't want it to be.
Let me ask.
But it was.
Let me ask this. This is for a cartridge history buff like Ryan. Let's ask.
Is this painful?
How
Yeah.
for how quickly, relatively speaking, the 6.5 Creedmoor has come on scene, and to the point where Mark Boardman is on a podcast calling it America's cartridge. How like in relatively speaking, how quickly did the 308 come on? How quickly did the 30-06 come on? Is it a similar story? Because not long ago, I remember somebody saying you should get a 6.5 Creedmoor. I said, sounds French.
Yeah.
Yep. I said, sounds really boutique-y. And I didn't want to do it. And now here we are, not that much later, with people saying it's America's cartridge. So how some of those other ones that we now see as staple cartridges, 5.56, 308, 30-06, a lot of those, did they come on just as fast?
No. What? Okay.
Were those ones started out in military use, and so
Yes.
that helped
Yes.
with them? So the 6.5 Creedmoor is a little bit unique in that it didn't start that way?
The Odd 6 took a while. Its introduction to the Americans as a species would have been 1906. Of course, military adoption. We were in the 1903 Springfield and its variations, and then the 1917, and then the M1 Grand. And then we had a couple world wars in the mix there, and we had the Korean War. And then I think by the time the Korean War rolled around, it was definitely a mainstay. But, you're talking about 50 years by that time.
Yeah. Okay.
That it became America's chambering. And it is a uniquely American cartridge. And
Is it not popular? Like, is it only popular in the U.S.?
No, not at all. Now it's a very wildly and widely accepted round. But and again, we have to take a couple of other things into into consideration here, like the information age.
Yes.
Modern practices in manufacturing and production and this kind of thing.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, think about just the internet and YouTube that we were just talking about a minute ago,
Yeah,
right? I mean, the ability for that information to be distributed so rapidly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did YouTube make the 6.5 Creedmoor?
That's a good question.
Maybe.
Because 111 years later, it hatched. The 6.5 Creedmoor did. And I can remember I was working behind the counter in a gun shop, and I had the same sentiment, Jim. What is this diminutive pipsqueak of a cartridge? I was a big 30 guy back then.
It's going to be a pain in the butt to find ammo for.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my
I went
gosh.
through
Only like one person makes a factory gun.
Yep.
To Mark's point, it is the most wildly successful round of my generation.
Yep.
And those still debating its merits, may not have ever fired one or used one or reloaded one or anything like that. So maybe their opinion of it is not completely formed yet. But it did take off like wildfire and got pretty big. Pretty quick.
It does make you wonder if just like you said, the information age, like we said, YouTube and all the internets and things, series of tubes, as we know.
Yes.
You do wonder if that has created such a culture of people that is more susceptible to, oh, this thing is new, let's jump on it, than we're back in the old days when these mainstay cartridges like 30-06, 308, the 5.56 came on scene. Then that proceeds to make me wonder if in 111 years, the 6.5 Creedmoor will be, well, I see Sonny is going to open up the safe here, and I got a 12 6.5 Creedmoors.
Geez, Grandpa, we don't use those anymore.
Gee, Willikers, quit embarrassing me in front of my friends.
I realized I said 111 years is 101 years.
101.
I'm sorry. I went to public school and I didn't pay attention.
That's all right.
Marketing plays a big role in how things are accepted these days. And I would not attribute that cartridge's success solely to marketing and dissemination of information. I
don't think you can.
No, it is a wildly effective round. I've said wildly 3 times in this. It's on the mind.
Yeah.
I've been outside a lot today.
Pretty wild lately.
Yeah, pretty wildly wild. It is a really good round. And for all the reasons
because of that DVD series you have.
Yeah, that's right. To Mark's points, though, he does touch on the very strong attributes this cartridge brings to the table, and for that, it's undeniable. I think it's a really, really, really good round. I respectfully disagree for a number of different reasons, but I think I came to this with a different set of rules in mind when I was trying to pick out that cartridge. And I'm really realizing that maybe I'm behind the curve.
No, all perspectives welcome here.
Okay.
And also, I mean, I think some of these things that I'm talking about here, the reason. So I think the cartridge itself has a ton of merit, right? But some of these things with the availability and this and they are a product of people thinking it's like essentially made of magic. Like, you grind up the unicorn horn and you put it in the Creedmoor shell and push a bullet on top and,
Right. And the interesting thing is that, so some of the things you list in here, most things being its performance and its characteristics are not 6.5 Creedmoor firsts. Like, it's not the first time in history a cartridge has ever had enough gas for most popular big game, was reasonably light recoiling, and some of these other performance characteristics. It's actually, I think, it's the fact that it combines those things with the fact that it's been widely adopted. It's in a lot of factory chamberings. There's a ton of factory ammunition for it. those things don't always mix, and that's when you get sort of lightning in a bottle like this one.
Yeah.
Because what are some? I mean, what are
I
some
feel like
other
the-
examples of cartridges that have similar performance? Enough gas for big game and are reasonably light recoiling and easy to shoot. Like, what
Yeah.
would some other examples be?
260 Remington.
Yep.
I'll say 243 Winchester, and people are going to start throwing vegetables on the stage. In the right application, 308, 30-06, 270, 25-06, even 7mm Remington Magnum. I had to bite my tongue on that one. A whole bunch of them.
Because of the recoil part?
Yeah. But to all of Mark's points earlier, we're kind of dressing up the rifle to make it work with that cartridge to make these attributes that he's highlighted possible. And I guess, like case in point, could you take a 300 Win Mag and make it very light recoiling? Yes, you can. Jim recently got a 300 Win Mag. He and I were shooting
my
it,
gosh.
and it has the same felt recoil as my 6.5 Creedmoor
Absolutely.
through stock design and muzzle brake efficiency.
And it's a reasonably lightweight gun, too.
Yeah, correct. It's not. I
think it's under 7 pounds or just under 8 pounds.
It's under 8 for sure.
Yeah.
And so that's very packable. That's a lightweight rifle in my opinion. It's a joy to shoot. It's not as affordable to shoot as the cartridge that Mark laid out.
Oh, I forgot even to put affordable. Just even yeah.
Mark, I know why you chose it.
I do too.
Mark, and also this is a testament to the type of person that Mark is. Because Mark likes everything to be. The fact of the matter is, Mark, you like to go hunting.
Yes.
That's what you want to spend your time doing, and you have limited time because not only are you on these podcasts, a lot, but you're also full time working here. You got a bunch of other jobs around Vortex. You got a family, all that other stuff, right? And so you like to have all the nonsense around it that you're not even interested in just done, so that you can do what it is that you love, which is being outside in the wilderness, hunting, and doing your thing.
Practicality.
Right.
This is a practical selection.
It is. And the 6.5 Creedmoor absolutely fits that because of everything you listed.
Am I going to get Rotten Tomatoes thrown at me though?
No,
I don't think so.
For calling this
No,
America's cartridge?
I'm
No, I
playing
don't
the
think so.
conversation out 5 to 10 minutes in advance here as I'm like pleading my case, and I'm realizing that everybody's just going to like get off the stage.
I don't think so.
I don't know, man.
Do it. Should we keep going?
Because keep going. We're all attacking this from possibly different angles.
I'm gonna go with a slightly different reason for my America's cartridge. I think America's cartridge is the 62 caliber ball.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Do you hear those fifes and those drums? Do you hear that?
do you hear that? Yeah. So let's go back to a time when you had us versus Britain, the UK. Is that what they called themselves back then? English.
Yeah.
The English.
The crown.
Yes, the
Crown.
Revolutionary War. And the American soldiers were toting around big old 30.5-inch long barrel. What are they doing? Charlevels.
Yep,
They
Crown
had,
Bessies.
Bessies or whatever.
Yeah.
And they were shooting a 62 caliber round ball. And they shot enough of those round balls inaccurately to hit some English guys and cause the English guys to say, you know what? Have it. Not worth it. And I think that's pretty neat. And I also was looking into some of this stuff.
Yes.
I was also looking into some of this stuff because I'm not going to even pretend to be a historian, or some people have probably already used some incorrect terminology, whatever. But I found it very intriguing when I looked up. Immediately I thought, okay, for America's cartridge, I got to choose whatever we founded America using, and there wasn't really, when you're talking about round balls, it's not really like a set caliber or anything, like you look at World War II and, the M1 Garand was, chambered in 30-06. Then it was sort of a mismatch. Well, they were using anything from this caliber to this caliber, and it made me wonder how do you have this sort of range of calibers? Well, I mean, it was kind of a mixture Was it that every time they made a rifle, it was kind of, well, how'd the caliber of the bore turn out today? Yeah, that's about a 60, and then was that how it worked? And then soldiers just had to sort of figure out, well, yeah, looks like I got a 58 here, so we're gonna get this little, ball maker.
Kind of, yeah.
And they're smooth bore.
It depended on where in the U.S. anyways, geographically you were, because there were some other rifles that or calibers rather that pulled a lot of freedom out of the situation that were not 62. They were much smaller.
Yeah.
And that was out of necessity because there just wasn't anything available. And it would also depend on when the cargo ship got hijacked and then got brought to the U.S. shores and those rifles were distributed, or there was a lot going on. There was some modernized piracy for the time.
Mm-hmm.
There was some falsifying of documents at the time so that rifles got redirected from Europe to the Americas to fight this war.
That is cool.
Yeah, and then
gosh, this sounds like a Netflix special.
Yeah, and then there was some just some handy craftsmen that realized that lead was a very hard to find commodity.
Okay.
And that if you could take a 62 caliber round ball and split it in two.
That's what I was going to ask. I mean, by going to a smaller bore diameter, are you making more ammos?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Well, I heard this if you compared it to shotgun gauge, they were running anywhere from an 11 to a 16 gauge with one ball.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So then
they're big.
Oh, they're huge. Yeah.
Big old
orb
balls. I'm just going to say it.
And it's true though.
Nobody wants to get hit by one of those.
No, you don't. But wild time here in early America, colonial America. And to give credit where credit is due to the folks that weren't able to get a French Charleville or a Brown Bess or whatever musket they happen to be using in approximately that caliber, they were doing whatever they could to get arms and armament out to troops, whether they were home guard or whether they were, enlisted or what have you. And so, you had smaller calibers come out of that as well.
One thing I found interesting was that if you look back at that time, there was also something called, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, the long rifle, which was something made by the German Pennsylvanians.
Yep.
Do you guys call yourself Pennsylvanians, or I guess if you're in Pittsburgh, you're a Yinzer? But the Pennsylvanian Germans were making these things, and they actually had grooved barrels.
Yeah.
And then that way you could have, so for snipers, they could have accuracy apparently out to 300 meters instead of the regular smoothbore muskets having accuracy-ish out to 100 meters.
Yep.
But they were complicated to make, so they didn't make all that many of them.
Correct.
But what I'm wondering is when they say they had grooved barrels. Now this is just me reading. I didn't have immense time to research this. But is there a difference between a grooved barrel and a rifled barrel, or were they just basically rifled barrels?
In concept, same thing.
Okay, so it's not like they had like straight grooves cut. They were spiraled.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
But I mean, the implement, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not by any means a historian either, but the reputation for the, quote, American sharpshooter came from kind of being the first to use this rifling.
Those fellas in the hills. They lived off of squirrels and rabbits and possums and raccoons. And
the souls of the British.
That's right. And so smaller calibers, for all these reasons that we talked about, easier to shoot. And at that time, we're still talking, not necessarily like the money it would cost to buy the ball and patch and powder, but just getting lead.
Yeah.
And making that last for a long amount of time. And powder. So powder was like an extremely hard to keep viable product. Most of the times it was kept in like an armory or a powder vault in the middle of your town, and you would go there and get it rationed out. Well, you can imagine when the war broke out, like all bets were off.
I think we can imagine actually, because I'd imagine it was probably similar to let's just say maybe a pandemic breaks out, and suddenly everybody needs arms.
Yep.
And the ammunition and related accessories to make those arms go bang.
Yep. Now just imagine if you had to smelt your own lead and make your own balls and all that kind of thing. You need to make a lot of them in a short amount of time out of limited resources, counting your powder as well. You're going to be making them smaller. And in turn, they were more effective too, arguably, if you could place a shot well. And yeah, the long rifle culture is like a big thing. Like that's its own subset.
I heard it's more complicated to load than the smoothbore muskets.
Just because you can't just stuff it down the barrel. The pre-made cartridges or charges, whatever you wanted to call them, weren't as effective. Patching thickness and patching material was more important. And if you can imagine, if you're stuffing, we'll just say a fibrous material, whether it's linen or paper, as wad down the barrel, and the idea is we're doing it quickly to put volume of fire downrange, and still maintain some level of effectiveness. If you're trying to use a patch, that's going to then get engraved and grooved by the lands and grooves of the rifling in the barrel. If you screw that patch up on the way down, the shot was ineffective.
Okay.
Or, you could foul out faster. And so smooth bores didn't really have the same problems that rifled bores do in terms of fouling. So if you get lead fouling in a rifled barrel, now all of a sudden becomes very difficult to load. Like snap your ramrod in half, and now now you've got a war club instead of a gun.
Right.
Yeah, and so that had to be taken into consideration too. So the shooters that were running them were extremely skilled, knew that weapon very well. They knew the nuances behind it. They knew that you either had to lubricate the patches with spit or tallow or lard. Or some other grease or oil, whereas those shooting a smooth bore, if they had pre-made charges, they could simply just bite the end off of one, pour the powder down with it, and ram the whole thing home. And then you'd have this wadding material around the ball sufficient enough to make a seal down the barrel so that it didn't just go ding, 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 all the way down. You lose all your pressure and velocity, even though you kind of did. There was a lot more practice in application with a rifled bore of a smaller diameter.
How neat I think it would have been to have been one of these coonskin cap wearing, I can only imagine, mountain people. And because a lot of this is probably happening in the Appalachian Mountains,
yes.
Correct?
Yep.
So, and I did say Appalachian because if you go down to Boone, North Carolina at Appalachian State, what up, ASU, they will correct you if you say Appalachian. Straight up. Don't try it. Anyway.
Which is interesting. I feel like most of the world
says it wrong. Yeah,
yes.
I know exactly. So anyway, but they're in the Appalachian Mountains. How cool would it have been to have, you got some, maybe, I just picture like a convoy of English soldiers, and they're, oh yes, we're going to go out and fight some Americans today, or I don't know if they're called Americans or that. So it's just some of these,
tribals.
Basically.
Colonials.
And then you're up in the tree, you just got done munching on a squirrel, and then you just start picking dudes off, and then some other coonskin cap guy just down the road is also picking them off from another side, and you just absolutely leave them in a complete terror. And of course, their first reaction is, everybody get in the line.
This historically accurate recounting brought to you by Jim.
Yeah.
I'm reminded.
That's how it works in my head.
I'm reminded of the scene in The Patriot, in which
I was thinking of The Patriot too.
Oh man,
which all the men had been driven into the swamps so as to conceal their scent from the hounds, and they're melting all the lead soldiers down.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of too.
That, yeah.
Just this motley crew of people from all walks of life, brought together by the strife of this war that was going on, and they're making balls for their respective muskets.
So my reason, of course, behind this is as if it wasn't self-explanatory enough. But you think about all the other cartridges that came out of this. Now, I'm not by any means calling the 62 caliber or whatever other caliber ball a fantastic cartridge. Mark, you have a bazillion and one reasons as to why the 6.5 Creedmoor is a far better cartridge than those. But the 6.5 Creedmoor, 30-06, the 308, the 5.56, the 1911 pistol, which I don't hate. Can we make that?
Okay.
I'm going to remake that clear. The AR-15, all these fantastic things that we enjoy to this day. My Weatherby rifle you were talking about in 300 Win Mag would never have been a thing had it not been for that ball of lead.
Let me add to that, Jim. Let me add to that.
All right.
My beloved little 6.5 Creedmoor that I've got all these, I like it because of this and that, and you can do this. I might not even be allowed to have a firearm.
Ding, 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 ding. There you
if
go.
it
That's
wasn't
another
for that.
fantastic point.
I'm over here thinking about myself while Jim's dumping tea in the harbor. The harbor.
I'm thinking about all of you, our listeners, Vortex Nation podcast. All right.
That was good.
Anyway,
that was good, Jim.
try and follow that
That
one
was
up.
good.
Try and follow that one up, Ryan.
I'm
What'd
going
you
to bring you back in time.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, boy.
We're going to go to a little place called Clovis, New Mexico. No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to talk about the Clovis Point as America's projectile.
Oh, okay.
But it would be a good one to talk about America's projectile and its beginnings.
I don't even know what that is. What is the? Do I sound stupid for not knowing what that is?
No. I mean, the Clovis Point was a revolutionary projectile design unique unto the Americas, which is, I don't know, that's kind of been debunked too. So if anybody's big
I
into
feel like it's kind of like
paleontology,
widely distributed style, though.
yeah,
isn't
it was very interesting because similar points have been found in Europe and Asia and that kind of thing too, dating back to similar time frames. So it's almost like somebody had a blueprint and they, America and what we know of it maybe was a lot different. But so there was this particular style of point called the Clovis Point, and it was.
I feel like there's like a pre-Clovis. Look it up yourself, everybody.
I'm looking it up.
Sharp rock.
Is that like an arrowhead?
Yeah, kind of. Spearhead, arrowhead, point design, means of manufacturing.
For guns or
no,
for?
No.
Okay. Now
I was just.
I'm trying to think of like what bullet.
I was just being smart.
All right. Well, now I sound like an
Being
idiot.
a real jerk.
right.
Real rotten apple. So for America's Cartridge, I can't really follow that up. I was going to pick the 30-06 and or 308. I was tied between the two.
Oh, that's not what I thought you were going to pick.
No.
So those two. And I guess when I looked at this, I thought, okay, cartridges for Americans and the things that we do and the things that we hunt and the things that we shoot. If I had a guy or gal call me up and say, listen, I'm not going to follow your path, Ryan, and have so many different rifles and so many different cartridges that you have a hard time picking. I'm going to invest in one. And I'm going to hunt everything from whitetails in Wisconsin to javelina in Arizona to doll sheep in Alaska and everything else in between.
We get asked this question a lot, actually.
Yeah. And for me, and again, I'm taking the perspective of the hand loader and running the assumption that I have a smattering of projectile weights and styles available to me. There is no, in my opinion, two finer choices for the American hunter. And actually, I'd spread that out to the global hunter because there's not a lot that you can't take with, well, there's an old saying, it's nothing that a man can't fix with $700 in a 30-06. I believe that to be true. A lot of big game tags are under $700, and a 30-06 is more than adequate. Or the 308. The two are almost synonymous in my book in terms of performance and application. Mm-hmm. The 06 will edge it out here. The 308 will have a couple attributes that are better there. There's a lot that we can put into this pie to end up basically at the same dessert at the end of all of this. But that caliber, 30, those two cartridges with the appropriate loadings, there's nothing on this continent that you should feel inadequate chasing with the right application. I can't say the same for the 6.5 Creedmoor.
This is true.
Yes. So, take that with a grain of salt, if you will. I can load in we'll just pick the 30-06, 220 grain round nose projectiles, heavy, slow moving.
That's big time.
Yeah. For punching through very heavy bone and hide. And I could easily go out and take American bison. I could take brown bears.
Yep.
That would all be doable.
Well, notice on my list here, I've left a few things off. So I'm making that not that you couldn't kill any of these things that we're talking about with 6.5, because you certainly could.
Absolutely.
It may not be my first recommendation.
No. We have a guy here at Vortex that took an American bison with a 6.5 Creedmoor.
Yep.
Worked fine.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So, question: those two, 30 caliber. Why then those two over, like the 300 Win Mag?
Sure.
I'm trying to peg it in my head as to what it is about the 06 or the 308. I'll maybe be hipster and try and call it that.
When we get to the recoil, cost, and size, parts of this breakdown. When you step into a 300 Win Mag, you do go up notably in recoil. So with an .6, we're getting a very good portion of the performance that you get out of the 300 Win Mag with a remarkably smaller powder charge.
Okay.
So, you might be pushing 190 grain projectile at, we'll say, 2950. I could probably push that same projectile out of a 30-06 at 2800. And so downrange, like at least with respect to the ranges that I'd be comfortable shooting a game animal, you would see no appreciable difference. Mm-hmm. So my question, why, if I'm loading 60 grains of powder, would I decide to load 72 to 75 grains of powder for meager performance advantage?
Yeah. I guess maybe I'm spoiled because of my 300 Win Mag, but I've gotten behind some 30-06s before that it's like, I don't like shooting that very often.
Right. And that's true. And again, and this is where you could sit and whittle that argument down and end up at the 6.5 Creedmoor real easily, because it's like, well, I don't like shooting that .6. Well, if I take the muzzle brake off my Win Mag, it's going to be worse yet. But if I look at the downrange performance of the 6.5 Creedmoor, I might as well be shooting that thing. But then you add some other thing into the mix, like 3 feet of elk to penetrate.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about, bone structure and hide thickness and muscle tissue and that kind of thing. Well, then would the 6.5 Creedmoor be the best choice for that? I don't know.
Maybe
it depends
not.
who you talk to. So for me, I thought, okay, with the .6, I've loaded that cartridge with 125 grain projectiles, and I've actually loaded up to 240 grain projectiles in the same case. I've got the brass, I've got the dies, I've got the powder, I've got the time. Mix them all together. I can make it a super flat shooting, coyote round, if that's what I was going for. And I could make it a very effective medium dangerous game round, if that's what I was going for. All in the same gun, all in the same case, all in the same package.
Marco, what was that? What was that smile you just shot over here?
Where do you draw your line, Mark?
Oh. I feel like I'm going full circle.
Okay, here's the question.
Ryan's talked me back into the 30-06.
Here's the question that I would ask.
My first and second big game rifles were 30-06s.
Here's the question I always ask.
I clearly haven't talked you into a 62 caliber ball.
Not yet.
All right.
I'm close.
If you had to have one gun and you looked at the amount of time and money you might invest in a caribou hunt in Alaska, knowing that there's things on the ground there that also want to eat you,
Oh, absolutely.
would the 6.5 be your choice?
No. That's why caribou and Alaska animals aren't on my list here.
Right.
I'm talking.
It is in America.
Like I said, I was 80-20.
No, for the 80-20, you are correct. But his option allows you to hunt basically 100.
Everything.
And, I mean, maybe not quite as, here, hand it to little Lucy, over here who's
Right.
10 years old and all.
Well,
of
if I put a muzzle
55
brake on it,
pounds.
though, then...
You think?
Yeah, I mean, would you...
It's a bigger gun.
I would.
It's gonna be
Okay,
a
so like
physically
if
bigger
you
gun.
could make a 30-06 recoil like that 300 Win Mag or less,
I could.
then I would easily be like, hey, yeah, kid, like you're not even going to feel this.
Right. So switching gears a little bit, going to 308, because ballistically very similar cartridge. I've got a Kimber Mountain Ascent. Weighs 4 pounds, 13 ounces. It has a muzzle brake on it. When I shoot the ammunition that I like to hunt with out of that gun, it has less felt recoil than my Tikka T3 and 243 without a brake.
Right.
That is interesting.
Yes. So again, you could pick a cartridge and you could be like, well, this because this, but I could modify a rifle to nullify any argument that you would make about things like recoil.
So how about like a factory gun though? Because to Mark's point, factory gun you
Yeah.
pick off the shelf. When I very first started shooting my 6.5 Creedmoor Ruger American, no brake, nothing, straight up gun with a scope on top. It was like, oh, that's nice. So is there a factory easily attainable option where you can pull it off and be like, yep, I'll throw a scope on it. It's nice to shoot.
Enormous
Yeah.
amounts of guns these days come with threaded muzzles. In the U.S., as much as we talk about 62 caliber balls securing our freedom, suppressors are kind of new on the scene for a lot of folks. Like you can now get them in some states where you couldn't before. I'm from Minnesota. You could never touch a suppressor unless you were like a law enforcement agency or a special type of manufacturer. Nowadays, you can go down to the gun shop, you can pay your $200 tax stamp, you got to wait like 10, 11, 12 months, 13 months, and you can get a suppressor and hunt with it.
And they've advanced quite a bit because it was not long ago that I remember my older brother, who's been on this podcast, Sam, getting a suppressor, and it looked like a tack welded muffler can with a hole drilled in.
And it was not as quiet as the new ones are.
No, and it was also like, oh my gosh, look at this thing. It's state of the art.
Yeah. So yeah, most factory guns do have the ability to affix a muzzle device of some kind. And we'll just say muzzle brake because not everybody's in a position to purchase a suppressor, or you may not even be able to own a suppressor in your state.
Sure.
Sorry.
But
hats off to you.
Right. With the addition of a muzzle brake.
Jim will work on that with his 62 caliber
62, a couple of
ball.
62 caliber balls. Well, let's not promote that.
No. But you could theoretically accomplish 95% of the same things that Mark is talking about with the addition of a muzzle brake.
Okay.
Here's what I'll say. I will concede to Ryan for hunting. One cartridge to do it all. Probably the 30-06.
Yeah. You got
or
these days
the 300 short mag.
Okay, I was waiting. That's right.
I mean,
the elephant in the room is the fact that I was ready for you to say the 300 short, and then you started saying some of these other things about light recoiling. I was like, well, that's out the window.
Because I wasn't looking at this from strictly
right.
a hunting perspective.
So that's fair. The thing with if you choose a 30-06 though, in this day and age, you're gonna have a lot more explaining to do.
To the ignorant.
Exactly. If you get a 6.5 Creedmoor, you get a 6.5 Creedmoor, and everybody's just kind of like, oh, okay, cool, yeah. You get a 30-06, and they're like, oh, hold on.
You got
a what?
Yeah.
And then you got to go, and then you got to explain. I mean, everything you explain. Well, the characteristics and the ballistics and the.
And what kind of world do we live in where we have to justify our cartridge selection?
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
It's a lot of cartridge bullying going on out there.
Oh, there is. There is
Cut
a
it
lot.
out.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Baloney. All right, I'm curious. I went the route of more historical American. What is it? What's America's cartridge historically speaking? When I think of the old stars and bars waving in the sky, I think of the 62 caliber ball. If I were to pick one, more the route, the practical route that you guys went, I would probably pick, and I do think it is worth mentioning the 22 long rifle.
Oh boy!
I think that is a cartridge that. It's actually a mixture of practical and patriotic, because many a shooter and hunter in this day and age was introduced to shooting and hunting with a 22 long rifle, and even as you age and you become more experienced and you get the .6 and the 6.5 Creedmoor and the whatever, you always have a 22 long rifle.
You never grow out of it.
You never grow out of just the little kid in you that wants to just shoot pop cans or whatever, hunt small game. So I do think that is an honorable mention.
I feel like aren't a lot of survival rifles in 22?
Usually, yeah.
That's what I find. We talk about all these cartridges all the time. Oh, this and that, and that's better. And then somebody goes, oh, you want to survive? Well, if you want to live, you better.
You should have told me.
22. Here it is.
That's true.
That is interesting that the survival rifle thing tends to be 22.
It's really gone bad? You need this.
You'd have to really start breaking this down categorically, and we'd have to say America's cartridge for shooting matches and hunting, or America's cartridge for only hunting, or America's cartridge for youth, or America's cartridge for survival.
Yeah.
And we'd have to.
Here's the thing. I gotta peel back the veil. If we pick one America's cartridge, though, and then we pretend that all those caveats and little exceptions don't exist, then a lot of people get up in a tizzy and they comment on our post on Instagram. And then when they comment more on Instagram, then more people see the post. And then, so.
God, it's a vicious cycle.
It is a vicious cycle.
I feel like.
So anyway, that's why we're going to blatantly try and make. I had to say that, though. That's what a lot of podcasters and Instagram influencers won't tell you. When you get mad, we get glad. Likes. We get glad.
The thing that, like Jim, you said, you got the stars and stripes, the patriotic.
Yeah, let's hear your example.
Well, and then Ryan is like in the middle, like very stars and stripes, patriotic. I mean, the 30-06 has a place in American history. It's awesome for any big game hunting that you want to do. I mean, ultimate versatility and America. And then now I feel like I'm at the club in my shiny shirt.
Well, I mean,
a little bit. You're sort of like,
now that he said that, I took golf when I was a kid for one summer, and I didn't know anything about golf. And I thought this could, my folks thought, get him into golf. It's good. He gets outside, walk around, a little athleticism.
Good skill to have, play it for life.
And I showed up there, and there was a gentleman, we were probably 7 or 8 at the time, that was there. He was a golf family. His dad golfed. He had a membership at the club in town. And I showed up. I remember I was wearing a T-shirt, and on it was a picture of a bunch of kids playing tennis. And he looked at me.
Was it one of those Life is Good T-shirts?
I don't know what it was. It was like there was like a tennis.
Oh, wait. The Good Life.
Yeah.
I had one of those shirts. It had like a guy.
Little stick figure guy riding a bike or something.
Well, no, this was it was like a picture of a guy in front of a mansion, and like he was on his leaning on his Corvette.
Very
no, it wasn't a
shirt.
Corvette. It was a Porsche.
Very different shirt.
And it said The Good Life. And I was like, that is the good life.
I was wearing probably shorts at the time.
Yes.
And so I showed up. I've got these clubs that my dad picked up at a garage sale. They were made of wood for the drivers. And here this youngster had some sort of, I don't know anything about golf, so fancy stuff. And he said, "Where's your collared shirt, Muckenhern?" And I remember thinking right then and there, I hate golf. And Mark, when you said that, right there, Mark, that's what I flashed back to.
Yeah, you just relived that whole experience.
It was hot that day. I golfed. I went through the whole thing, and I thought, whatever. I bet he doesn't shoot a 30-06, though. I bet he shoots a Creedmoor.
Oh, well, it's kind of not nice.
I'm just saying.
What's your stars and bars version? Like, just straight up, if you think about America, what cartridge?
Oh, man, stars and bars?
I'm surprised Ryan didn't say 3040 Craig.
Theodore Roosevelt said something about the 3040. I mean, it's a good cartridge.
I mean, yeah.
The Spaniards had 7 Mausers, though. Outclassed the Americans.
Here's the thing: in terms of just like patriotism and stars and bars and all that stuff, again, the old like muskets. I'm not going to go around and say, well, if you're going to go out and hunt, elk, I'd suggest a musket. But just in terms of, I mean, isn't the 3040 Craig, didn't like everything get birthed out of the 3040 Craig?
A lot of things did, but it was to improve it. It's where it was,
right.
Its shortcomings were identified.
Everything has always been to improve the last version, but you always have to look back at the OG.
You get to that 06, and you get like, what else can you really improve? What are you going to take away to get better?
All right. That's fair. That's fair. You love the 3040 Craig, so I'm surprised.
It's a good cartridge, man. It's really good. 30 US.
I don't know, like you say, Jim, and I just feel like I'm going in mental circles here because how you want to attack it dictates the outcome, and also you don't want to not do justice to significant history, sacrifice, just importance in. I don't know.
Can I say one more thing?
I don't have it. You know?
What's that, Ryan?
If you look at some of the most successful commercial cartridges today, they're spawned, from the 30-06.
We did a whole thing on it.
I think we did in the 100th episode. Some people have actually asked us to talk about the 30-06 specifically. I think the 30-06 has come out very often, so we just kind of forget to like have a specific episode about it. We did do a little bit in our 100th episode. You can go back and check it out. Make the 30-06 great again. Still is great though, and so I feel as though I'm pretty set on 62 cal ball aside. I still will stand to that to this day as the birth cartridge of America. But I mean, what do you think, Mark? I mean, it seems like America's cartridge.
I'm gonna stick with my answer, and here's why.
Stick with it,
and here's
your
why.
Shiny shirt. I feel like I should call you, like you should be wearing some white pants. People should call you Ernesto, and you should have a cool chain.
Dare to dream. Here's
We're
why
Las Vegas.
Here's why I'm sticking.
Drinking Fiji water
Yeah.
with your caviar.
At this point in time,
Wait,
we're
you
probably
guys,
the
I don't
only
know. You guys
people in
aren't.
Las
Whatever you
Vegas.
guys are describing, you're not talking me out of it.
How can we talk Mark out of it? That's right. We forgot.
Here's why I'm going. I'm coming full circle back to my own original answer for this debate. I think we can accurately call this a debate because I've flip-flopped about 5 or 6 times, so I might as well flop back to my own answer. And here's my reasoning. All the stuff I listed, and there is a significant military component, which I feel is super patriotic, and we live in the now, we don't live in the past. We can definitely learn from history, and that's where we learned to make the 6.5 Creedmoor. That's what I got.
That's pretty good.
Some golf clapping going on in the background right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I got. That's what I got. And
here we are. Mark is on the final call. He's going to try and make his last argument for the 6.5 Creedmoor. And the call is out, and I just don't know if it's good or not. I can't tell whether or not you sunk that putt.
I'm on the fairway.
Yep. I'm
Jim?
gonna have to stick with the I'm gonna have to stick with the odd 6. America's Cartridge. Yeah.
Maybe I'll switch mine back to the 30-06 because I love hunting so much, and I want to be able to be comfortable when I'm around dangerous game.
Let's reiterate for those out there who, because a lot of this was around hunting, but let's reiterate too for the precision shooter. You know, well, okay, you guys 30-06, that's cool and all for hunting. You know, I mean, I get it. My cousin Eddie had one, right? You know, yeah, he hunted.
Eddie.
Good guy.
But now, you know, but I shoot precision rifle. I don't know if you ever heard of it. I shoot it though.
Got a shiny shirt.
So, so your 30-06.
Lots of flair.
Your 30-06 just doesn't do it for me. What do you say to that person?
You know what? With respect to that, I wouldn't go golfing with a baseball bat either. But I sure as heck wouldn't take to the.
How about a hockey stick though?
I would.
Happy
Hey,
Gilmore did
yeah,
it.
that's true. I wouldn't take to the batter's mound, America's sport, baseball, with a 9-iron.
Did that?
Yeah, I strung that together just now.
I don't mean to ruin the moment. What?
I wouldn't go golfing.
So you wouldn't shoot precision rifle?
Oh yeah, I was sorry. I got
With-
a little vain about golf again.
No, that's fair.
You're right.
That's
No,
fair.
okay. With respect to the folks that want to do that kind of thing, there are certainly better applications than the 30-06 Springfield for doing precision rifle for a number of different reasons.
I was waiting for you to be like, no, it's perfect. It's the best choice.
I mean, it is. If you like the 308 and you can handle a little bit of recoil, you'd be a real baller to go out to that range with a 30-06.
Yeah.
An effective muzzle brake, and you wouldn't be that far off.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, heck, we had that little lightweight Kimber Mountain Ascent in '06 that I took bear hunting. That
We
thing
did-
was
I'll tell you,
easy
we
to
did-
shoot.
we did-
And ballistically, we talked about this before. Maybe even it was the same ballistics as the
Yeah.
'06.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, as the 6.5 Creed.
So
I think you have to look at,
God.
again, it's a never-ending debate. If you're going to shoot PRS or a similar game, consider something like the 6.5 Creedmoor, because you wouldn't need all the things that the 30-06
Right.
brings to the table. You only need a few of the things the 30-06 brings to the table.
right.
The 30-06 is definitely bigger medicine.
To pick one, this also then needs to come down to not only what is America's Cartridge, but a lot of our conversation was around hunting. We also need to figure out what is America's shooting pastime.
It is long range.
Rifle hunting or long range shooting.
Yeah, that's true. There's just too many. There's too many minuses in each category for any particular cartridge to get into. If it's the 6.5, it's probably a little light for browns, right? You don't want to hunt brown bear with a 6.5 Creedmoor. If it's a 30-06, it's probably got a little too much recoil for the PRS game. You're already using a 22-pound gun. I don't know that you can, Jim. I think that's why we have golf courses and we have baseball diamonds. And you can...
You just said America's sport is baseball.
Well, you look at golf,
though
though.
I
They
don't
got
watch
like 19
baseball.
cartridges in one bag. They all
They
do
do,
different
that's
things.
true.
They do. Maybe you've arrived on a point. Everyone should walk around with a golf cart full of guns in different chamberings. And just, okay, here we are. I got a 500-yard shot. Going to need to take down a brown bear. I'm going to pull out the 30-06. You got a caddy who follows you around and says, oh, yes, it's interesting. I see the wind is coming out of this direction quite strong, so you're going to want something with a high BC.
I've just come to the realization when you said that the caddy is the spotter of golf.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh. My head is blown.
Your gun safe is your golf bag. It's just a lot heavier.
Boy, howdy. I still think the answer is 30-06 because of its undeniable utility.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that as well.
And I'm going to say that a gentleman could be...
Or gentleman, woman.
Yeah, gentlelady. Could be as effective on the PRS course with a 30-06 as he could in the field, as she could in the field with a 30-06. But you may be undergunned with a 6.5 Creedmoor.
I'm changing my answer. I'm going back to 30-06.
There you have it, folks.
If anybody's listening that would like to have extended to them a digital handshake and high five, build yourself a PRS rig, chamber it in 7.62 by 63 millimeter, aka 30-06, and go shoot some PRS. You'd be my hero.
Mine too.
I like it, guys.
All right.
I think we covered a lot of really important ground here.
I think we did too. Well, with that said,
there you have it.
there you have it. Okay, let's hear your thoughts on what you think America's Cartridge is, even though we're right.
Even though we've settled the argument.
Right. But we'll still entertain your thoughts.
Yes.
Let us know. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Fastest 10-minute talk we ever did.
It is the 30-06.
Yes, it is. It always has been, Mark. Even I have strayed from it only to come back.
Well, then what about this moose gun that I'm trying to build?
Here again, we're getting very specialized. If you get specialized, you got to play outside the rules.
Yeah, you're right. Specialized outside the rules.
What did you just suggest?
Well, because I want to build this moose gun, but it's a long-range moose gun. So it's not just floating down the river, shoot a moose at 200 yards or 100 yards at 50 feet. It's, probably 400-yard minimum.
I really goofed up and did not save that Microsoft XLS document that I created.
You didn't send it to me either. You just told me you made it.
Yeah, I did. And I thought I had it on my desktop, but I saved it to somehow.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
I went to retrieve it. I saw that it was on there. I thought, well, if somebody saw this, they'd get mad that maybe it would be there. So I Control-C, new document, Control-V. No, I do not want to save. In doing so, somehow, I destroyed the research. Effectively, what I did was I took the 308 Winchester as a baseline. I added 30-06, 300 Win Mag, 300 Rum, 300 Weatherby. I didn't do 300 PRC, and I don't know why. But I think I had 30 Nosler on there as well.
300 Wisdom.
300 Wisdom. And I assigned the 308 as the baseline in the chart.
Okay.
And created a ratio between bullet weight, powder charge, and drop at, I think, what did I say, 600 yards? Something like that.
Okay.
And created line 1 as the 308. And then charted the rest of them along with it with this efficiency scale. Now, it leaves a couple of critical things out that you could argue either way. So in terms of efficiency for the task at hand, it went 308, immediately 300 Wisdom, and then 30-06, and then 300 Win Mag, and then...
Wait, 308 was the best? No, impossible.
It was comparing to that.
Okay.
So you could make the argument that 300 Rum was the best because it exhibited the flattest trajectory
Okay.
and most energy on target. But it also did it with the highest capacity of powder.
Right.
So therefore it scored low in efficiency because it took exponentially larger sums of powder
Gotcha.
for incremental gains. But 300 Wisdom was the victor of that, outside of 308 being the baseline.
I don't hate the Wisdom. I just hate the fact that Mark loves the Wisdom.
I'm going to throw this out there. Early adopt. I don't own a ton of rifles. I don't buy a ton of rifles. early adopter within 2 years of its inception. 300 Wisdom.
It's so unlike you.
Bought the first, completely unlike me. I'm not an early adopter of anything, particularly technology. You know that, Jim.
Yes.
Early
sorry.
adopter,
didn't catch that.
bought the first production rifle, essentially, to my knowledge, available, or one of, excuse me, because Savage was making production 6.5 Creeds, and then Browning came out with theirs, and I went with the Browning because I like A-bolts.
I was sitting in a pop-up trailer in Foretown, Minnesota, and the most foremost expert on cartridges at the time that I knew was my father's hunting partner, Joe Fredericks. He was an electrician for the Hoffman Corporation.
God, electricians are always smart.
Joe's a sharp guy, and he was
Always know a lot.
and he was an amateur taxidermist. First mountain goat I ever saw was in his basement.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I said, Joe, what do you think about the 300 short mag? And he goes. So I was very jaded to that cartridge for a long time. Fast forward 6, 7 years, maybe like 6. I'm working retail. I've got cartridges of the world. I'm flipping it open. 300 WSM, 30-06. Joe shot a 308 actually. Shot a Remington pump action 308, 7600.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
His theory was it's brown, it's down. Remember, he shot American Eagle 165 grain. Anyway, then I became an adopter of the 300 Wisdom. Looked at all of its attributes, held the case in my hand, thought, you're modern, you're sexy.
Yes.
And the first rifle I really wanted to buy was a Winchester Model 70, the Shadow. Blued gun, stainless jeweled bolt, but it had the foregrip and the grip panels were raised dots.
Yes. Yeah. The black synthetic. It was gray, right? Was it gray in those areas or not?
Black.
It was black in those
It's called the
areas?
Shadow.
Yeah, I'm thinking of a
I
different
ended
one.
up getting a Tikka T3.
Maybe I'm
Loved the
thinking of
gun. Replaced the recoil lug at round 60.
Oh, I'm thinking of a Remington.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know which one you're thinking of.
Was that like?
It was black and gray or gray and black, depending on
Oh,
which
I know
one.
that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
My next build will be a 300 WSM. Jim yelled at me on the case. Oh God! Oh!
I just tuned in to that thing.
It just-
when Ryan was, I was like, oh my god, I should have been tuned in longer.
He went from eager, disgusted. It will be
Something way cooler.
the Wisdom.
What am I losing? I was going to ask you these questions today anyway. What am I losing velocity performance-wise between a 22 and a 24? Considering my application for this firearm.
In looking at the numbers, it's not enough to amount to a hill of beans, and it's so subjective. There's a group called Ballistics by the Inch that did this fantastic test with of all things, a Sacco TRG 42 and 338 Lapua. And they started cutting the barrel down from like 26 to 16 or something like that. And it didn't seem to make an appreciable difference past 18 inches.
Holy shnikes.
And it's all in chambering. My 300 Weatherby Mark V AccuMark shot remarkably slower than my 300 Weatherby Vanguard. The Vanguard, 24-inch barrel. The AccuMark, 26. And this was related to chamber.
So if we do this, can we account for all these things to make it really great?
I think so.
Okay. Question 2.
Heavy bullets.
Oh. Will I be... I can't believe I'm saying this.
Better off with a 300 Win Mag?
No. Should I hand load?
I'm out.
Personally, I would.
I'm
Why,
out.
Jim?
Here's the deal.
Talking about 300 Wisdom, and then we talked about hand loading it.
Our Bible is gone.
Somebody
the-
took our book. It's right there. Down on the bottom. And actually, should I go with the 200 grain ELDX for what I'm doing?
I don't like that bullet.
I know, for what I'm doing.
I still don't like that.
60%, 50 to 60% weight retention.
Options.
It says 80% at after 400 yards.
I've seen otherwise.
Even after 400? It's not what it said on the internet.
Okay. We're just going to go with the 200 ELDX because it's the closest bullet and weight class in construction.
Or do I just go with a 180 AccuBond?
That's what I would choose.
Not an AccuBond LR, though.
No, I'd shoot the LR.
You would shoot the LR?
Yes.
I heard on the interweb they said...
I heard Barnes bullets don't open up either, and I've cut things in half with them. 300 Wisdom. Top load. There are 2 top loads in the 2950 category. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to look at Reloader 17. This is a powder I'm familiar with. Actually, let's just step down a notch. We'll go 2900. We'll be modest. We won't target the top of the book. IMR 4350. I have pounds of this at my house right now. 63.1 grains for 2900 feet per second. Here we are arriving at the 200 grain ELDX. Notice something. The velocity doesn't even get to the same darn thing in the 300 Win Mag. 2900. So where are we at here? Do they have 4350? Probably not. Here we are. So IMR 4350, 66.4 grains for 2,800 feet per second out of the 300 Win Mag. IMR 4350, 62.1. We're saving 2 and some change for comparable velocity. That's out of the same length barrel, tested a 24-inch Wiseman. This is usually who they use for barrels. 24-inch, 1 in 10.
What twist rate for me for these
1
bigger?
in 10.
1 in 10 for these bigger ones.
Yes.
That's fast enough?
25-inch.
I don't
1 in
want
10.
like a 1 in 8.
That's fast. You'd be shooting heavy bullets only. 1 in 8 would be fine.
I thought with the heavy...
So you can...
I thought you could shoot all of them with the faster twist.
Yeah. You're going to give up a little bit of velocity. You're going to be doing a little bit more tuning. 1 in 9, 1 in 10, be fine. Absolutely fine.
Okay.
So with an inch shorter barrel, 2 grains less powder, we're achieving the same velocity. We can actually hit higher velocity numbers. I think a 22-inch barrel, you'd have no issue whatsoever. I think a 24 would be fine too. The reason that I decided 22 was because it saved like some notable weight numbers. And it's going to make the rifle like this
That's
big.
what I'm interested in. And I'd probably would like to get a can for it.
That'll be a big thing. Talking about that much more.
Right. Either break it or put a can
Break,
on.
bar none.
Yeah, break bar none.
Yes. So just think of that. You got it on your pack, on your gun bearer. Okay, here it is. And it's here or it's here. You're going through them alders, you know. Oh, gosh. Oh, hit me in the nose, broke my nose, the barrel. If I would have been 2 inches shorter, that wouldn't have hit that alder branch. My nose wouldn't be broken. Now you're in the Alaskan interior. Blood coming down your face. The bears can smell it.
You know what, actually, I would argue for the longer barrel then.
Why?
Because if the longer barrel hits me like this, that's really not going to be that big a deal.
It's going to hit you in the bridge of the nose.
But if I get that thing poking me right here, now I've knocked a tooth out.
All right, that'll wrap it up for this episode of the Vortex Nation podcast. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Hit that subscribe button so you can always stay up to date on the latest happenings over here at the Vortex Nation podcast. You can also follow us on Instagram at Vortex Nation Podcast. Again, everybody, thanks, and happy hunting and shooting. We appreciate it. Have a good one.